Making 100 million in RuneScape 3 is really not that hard, especially when you are a higher level player that has access to the highest level of money making methods. Because there are money makers, for example like killing the Sanctum of Rebirth in hard mode, that are estimated to be over 100 million per hour if you are on drop rate. So therefore 100 million isn't the biggest challenge. But if you do exactly that, but this time you are not a high level player and rather a low to mid level player with low gear and not access to the good money makers, this becomes increasingly more difficult. And this is exactly what I wanted to do with this video. So I took one of my really old accounts that I played back in the days before EOC was even out, and since then I haven't touched this account at all. It has some mediocre stats with some levels that are a bit higher and near the 80 level mark, but most of them are rather in a lower field, so somewhere between 1 and 50 or something. And I wanted to take this account and make 100 million on it to show you guys how you can make your first 100 mil. So this was a lot of work, and if you enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment with some critics, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And now let's head right into it. So gems are pretty high on the price right now, especially these jades, for example. They are worth 2k, or topaz are worth 2k, and also the opal are worth 600k, 600. Not 600k. So I guess we are kinda getting an inventory full of them just to get some starter cash, you know, and then see what we can do with that. I, by the way, also just got a mimic kill token, which is worth about 50k, which is not a lot, obviously, but it's insane for this account, you know, just to get some starter cash in. Oh my god, this is so good. Inventory full, so let's sell everything, I guess. Oh, and the jades only sold for a little more than 1k each, but the mimic kill token is still here. Okay, so that was awful, but we could sell everything, and our total price check now is 78k. So let's see what we can do with that money to skyrocket our profit. Yes, please. Collecting the Wicked Hood, always a good thing to do. Trust. Okay, so I've completed the mini quest here, which basically means that we have now access to the abyss. So we can go there, train rune crafting like this to get to level 50, which is a goal for something that I will show you in a minute, I think, and also make a little bit money down the line, because rune crafting, especially with going through the abyss and getting magic threads, is a really good money maker. So after making a little bit of starter cash, I wanted to go for rune crafting, as I explained, because when you go rune crafting through the abyss, you always have a chance to get a magical thread, which is worth about 500k, which is an insane amount of money for this account at the moment. But I also have to admit right here that money makers like this become increasingly better when you take some time and really invest them in making the money makers better. For example, completing wilderness diaries, getting a higher rune crafting level, and get the better rune pouches and all that stuff will increase your chances of getting magical threads. So even though we are solely focused on money on this account, I have to say spending some time on grinding out stuff like this can benefit you more than just flat out making money. But let's see how it goes for me. Oh, and there we go. I think it's the 4th inventory, and we got our first magical thread. That is so good. So yeah, I guess I will do a little bit more now, because let's be honest, 500k is so insane for this account. Insta sold at 530k. That is just insane. So the first magical thread basically came instant. In the 4th inventory, we were lucky and got a 500k. So here I thought this moneymaker is easy money, and we should focus on that early on. But yeah, luck took a turn, and even though I did the rune runs for a couple of hours more, I was not lucky and did not get any more magical threads. So I decided that it is time to move on and find something else, because I got kinda tired of making those rune runs without getting magical threads. Stolen Hearts completed. Diamond in the Rough quest is completed. Okay, Jack of Spades is also complete, but this has actually a good reason, and I will show you the reason in a few secs. That rune pickaxe was hella expensive. But obviously, I did all of that because I had something in my mind. And this is that we want to mine some sandstone here, because this is effectively a really good moneymaker, especially when you not just sell the sandstone and rather use it to yeah, I don't know, process it. Is it called like that? Because as you can see, I get sandstone from the sandstone here, from these mineral deposits. They have worth something. This is definitely true, especially if you get the higher, the 5 kilograms or the 10 kilograms even. But what you can do with them is pretty simple. You can grind them to get extra fine sand. So for example, I grind these one here, and out of these sandstones that I mined right now, I got 4 extra fine sand, which is essentially 8k per sand each, which is already a good moneymaker at himself. But now I can take this even further and go, for example, to Lumbridge, and now I can use this extra fine sand at the altar here, and I can bless it, which gives me then blessed sand. And blessed sand at the moment sells for 12k each, which is just absolutely insane amount of money itself. That is 50 in rune crafting. That is so good. This means Rune Goldberg machine. With level 50 Runecraft, you unlock access to the Rune Crafting Guild, and in there you have the Rune Goldberg machine. The Rune Goldberg machine is a little daily that you can do where you put in some runes and get Wiswax out to make about 1 million or 1.5 million profit every day, and it is done in a few minutes. So therefore it is really powerful if you want to make some money every day and you don't have to spend a lot of time in-game. So this is basically also one of those dailyscape activities, and there are way more out there, just like the Reaper tasks and all that shenanigans, but I decided not to focus on them because I think this is a little bit boring. But if you are interested in more dailies that you can do on your account to progress it, I have a full guide on dailies linked in the description, so check it out if you are interested. And here we will go to some other moneymakers. So at this point, I started slow buying and slow selling items in the Grand Exchange to increase my profit, because I realized that a lot of money makers that you can do early on have some really weird Grand Exchange prices where the prices are just not as displayed when you, for example, examine an item and stuff. So to increase the profit on these money makers, I decided to slow buy and slow sell them so I can make a higher profit. Maybe you have no clue what I mean by slow buying and slow selling in the Grand Exchange, so here's a little explanation. Because when you buy something in the Grand Exchange, for example these stone wall segments right here, and if I really want to buy one of those, I can just increase the price to like 15k instead of 8k, and then I can make the offer and it will always insta buy for someone who has an offer in that is really high. In my case, I just bought this item for 11.5k. And if I want to sell it instantly, I basically do the same and just put an offer as low as possible, sell it, and whoever has a low offer in will instantly get the item and I get the money, so I have instantly sold it. But you can see right now that I basically bought the item for 11.5k and I sold it for 8.9k, which is just really bad if money is your focus. So instead of just buying the item for almost 12k, I now make an offer, and I know that the item is traded at 8,932 coins, so I now take an offer for example 8,950 coins, a little bit higher than this one, and I put it in. For example, I want to buy 10 now, and I have the offer open. This will not instantly buy the item for me, but if I wait for a few hours, it will fulfill this offer, and then I will get my stonewall segments not for 12k and rather for 9k, which is insane if I want to make money on this item. One of the money makers I also did a lot on this account was buying limestone bricks and then selling them as stonewall segments after making them in Fort Free, which is extremely profitable and has almost no requirements, but also takes a lot of time and gives not a lot of XP. And this is also something that I noticed with a lot of these money makers that you can do early on, because there are profitable money makers that are really good to do, also stuff like blessing sand and shenanigans, but the problem with them is that you don't really progress your account at all. You just get money, but no XP or anything else. So I decided to do them for a while now, and I think with all these money makers, I was at about 20 million in coins. And after that, I decided that it is time now to abuse the Grand Exchange to make some more money. So I started with a little bit merching, where I bought some items in the Warriors Guild, like an iron chain body or bronze halberds, and put them as an offer in the Grand Exchange for 1 million coins each. Which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I myself had a lot of these moments where I, for example, needed a iron chain body to access the Black Knight's Fortress on my main account to do a quest, and then I wanted to buy one in a Grand Exchange. And no one was selling them, so I just put up the price to like, I don't know, 5 million and just put in the offer, and suddenly I bought one for, I don't know, 500k, and I was like, what the fuck, why did I spend so much money on this useless item? But this is exactly what the problem is with these items, because a lot of people do not sell them, but they are still used, for example, in quests and stuff, so you can get a really handy money right there just by having the offer in. But what is even more powerful in the Grand Exchange is something called flipping, or to put it in simpler terms, buy low and sell high. What I mean by this, I will show you right now. Because flipping is essentially nothing else than abusing exactly the thing that I showed you a couple of minutes ago with the slow buying and slow selling stuff. Because we made this offer for the Stonewall segments, and you can see that already 7 of them have bought. So I got 7 Stonewall segments for 8,950 coins each. But we also know that I was able, or when I wanted to insta buy this item, that there are offers in the Grand Exchange for 11.5k each that are actively traded. So what I can do now is take these Stonewall segments, and instead of progressing them further to make money, I can now just take this item and sell it for, let's say, 11k, because I know that it is actively traded at 11,500, so I go a little bit lower, but I can still sell this item now for this price, and again, it will not instantly sell or instantly buy, but if you have time and if you wait, you will make a profit on these Stonewall segments, because I paid 62,000 coins for these 7 Stonewall segments, and if my offer is sold, I will get 75,000 coins out of it. And yeah, this is not a lot of money, but if you do this with not 7 Stonewall segments, but 7k, for example, we are then talking about millions and millions of coins that you can do by flipping items. This is about a half an hour later, and they have already sold. But flipping is always a risk that you take, because it can always happen that you buy an item at a price that you think is really low, but overnight, or as you are not playing, or as you have the offer in, the item price crashes, and now suddenly you are stuck with an item that you bought on a way too high price. And since I don't have millions and millions to spend, because I want to make 100 million as fast as possible, I had one simple strategy. Because the items that I flipped were always items that I could process further. So for example, I used extra fine sand, and here in this flip that I have in my history, for example, I bought extra fine sand for 30 million and then sold it for 24 and 10 million, so for 34 million, and made a profit of about 5 million coins with one flip. But more importantly than this, is that if the item price crashes and the extra fine sand gets really low, I can still take the extra fine sand that I bought and make blessed sand out of it and still make a little bit of profit. And this was basically my whole strategy while flipping on this account. So I bought items like extra fine sand, limestone bricks, sandstone, and all that shenanigans that you can process further to, if the price crashes or you cannot make a profit with flipping, you can still process the item and make a little bit of money like this. So, and this is basically the whole secret. This is everything that I did on this account. So I started with some mining to make a little bit of starter cash. Then I spent this cash on rune crafting to get runes and magical threads to make even more cash out of it. I unlocked the Wizwax with level 50 in rune crafting, and then used my AFK time to mine sandstone and create blessed sandstone. After that, I had like 5 to 10 million, somewhere around there, and I spent this money on limestone bricks to make Stonewall segments until I had, I think it was about 25 million coins or something. And then with that money, I started abusing the Grand Exchange and started flipping while training other skills. Because basically if my flips would have went wrong or I would not have made as much money as I did, I still would have the option with other skills that I trained, in my case thievening, to unlock some high level money makers like the heists and make the 100 mil via this. So, and there you have it. This is basically the whole secret of making your first 100 mil, or as I would make my first 100 mil if I would have to start all over again on a newbie account. And to be fair, in the end, I can tell you that I basically sold 10 iron chain bodies for 10 million. I sold 7 iron halberds for 700k, and I also sold 6 bronze halberds for 6 million. So merging was definitely also really viable, and the account cash stack is now at 116 mil. So definitely a really successful project right here. But just as a last word of this series, I want to tell all of you that if you have stats like this account, don't bother on making as much money as possible and rather focusing on progressing your account so you can unlock the higher level methods. For example, you could train thievening to level 95 to unlock the heists and then get some really powerful money right there. Or you could just start fighting and start PVMing to unlock some boss encounters that will print you money basically. But if it is fun for you or your main goal is to make as much money as possible, this is how I would make 100 mil on a newbie account. So as always, I hope you find this video helpful and interesting, and I would really appreciate if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and now I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, and I'll see ya. Bye!